I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Hi, everybody. I'm Francis. It's Oops. Welcome to the show. He's Giulio. Hi.
Hello. How are you?
What's happening, dude?
Nothing, man. Feeling good. Still at the GF's family home, enjoying it.
Near Chicago.
I'm in her sister's room.
Wow.
And, it's good.
Anything cool in there?
It's a really nice room, actually. I'm not sleeping in here, in case anybody's wondering. We are sleeping in the same bed like adults, but this is my little workspace. And, this is where we make delicious pod content for you guys.
That's right. We're stirring up some conversations that will be likely to lighten your load. And that's the goal here. I'm in the Hamptons still, dude. I'm leaving tomorrow. And I have to tell you, the Hamptons are... I'm not sure about them. At first, I thought when I got out here, boy, this is really cool. What a lovely place. And now I've spent enough time around people with inordinate wealth that I have come to see and learn that the acquisition of memberships at beach clubs and golf courses and yacht clubs powers the entire focus of the people who live out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to overly generalize, but dude, there is so much focus on material wealth and the hierarchy and stacking of people based on where they belong, what they own, how long their driveway is, that it's kind of turning me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little uptight for sure. And I think it's this thing where there's always some kind of race. Yeah, and I always used to wonder, because I grew up in a pretty middle class place, and we used to think of, the wealthy towns in Connecticut was our reference point. We're kind of oh, Greenwich, that was the rich people, whatever. Even towns nearby that we thought were wealthy towns or whatever. And I realized, and then you'd think, I'd be what do those people have to complain about? They have everything. And then I remember kind of getting to know some of these people in these, high society circles or whatever. And I realized that once you're in that bubble, you reset and it starts over. You're just competing with the people in your bubble. You forget that most people live normal ass lives and you have a fancy privileged life, but you're suddenly now just competing against the only people which are equally or more rich people. And somehow those people are actually less happy to me. I know it sounds like a cliche.
Dude, absolutely. No matter where you are in life, there's always somebody who has more everything than you do.
Totally.
Everything. I mean, that's really the truth of it. Even Saudi princes, every Saudi prince has an older brother who has more everything. A yacht that's 1 foot longer. Dude, can you imagine if you're a Saudi prince and your older brother got a yacht, 450-foot yacht, and your older brother gets a 451-foot yacht? I bet that happens all the fucking time.
And they joke about how one's a foot longer, and they act like they don't care, but the younger brother's actually very upset. Dude,
they're all size queens over there. It's just crazy to me, dude. Because here's the thing, I think money and wealth are obviously provide flexibility, options, security, the comfort of knowing your kid's education is taken care of, all of that for sure. But when I was 4 years old, my parents made the decision to move us from Rumson, New Jersey, which was a very wealthy town, and move us up to Maine. And I've found out later in life that the guiding pulse, or the guiding reason for that, the impetus for that, was they didn't want us kids growing up around other kids who were so affected by the wealth of the family.
Interesting. That was a driving principle in the move.
That was the number one thing.
Wow.
And it was just so material in Rumson, New Jersey. It's a very wealthy town in New Jersey. And they wanted space and outdoor living, and it's not like we could afford waterfront property in New Jersey. So in Maine at the time, it was pretty cheap. This was back in like 1992. And so whatever, your money goes a lot farther in Maine. But I remember my mom saying to me that they were watching as my sister's 6-year-old classmates were coming to school with Coach handbags at 6.
That's crazy.
And they just hated that. And they thought it was kind of gross. And so they moved us to Maine. And I grew up in Maine, and Maine is not like that at all. So now coming to the Hamptons, you get us. And granted, look, I've been playing golf at these golf courses as a guest of these people who are, it's the most elite golf courses in the world. I played National Golf Links of America on Tuesday. I played Shinnecock on Wednesday.
How was Shinnecock?
Oh my God, dude.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But I have to say that I thought National was actually more spectacular.
Wow.
Shinnecock is really cool. Obviously, there's so much history. It's an insane golf course. Very, very cool. But dude, you know what's weird about these places? Both courses, especially Shinnecock, has a public road that runs right through the middle of it.
Oh, interesting.
And there are tee boxes off of the road. You're 10 feet away from a car of people driving to their job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those people can honk in your backswing if they want. Or if they really were mad at the wage gap or whatever, the income inequality, they could just drive their Jeep Grand Cherokee out and do donuts across the 10th green.
I'm sure it's happened.
I don't know why it doesn't happen more often.
Right.
It seems like this pristine golf course is very prone to vandalism.
Right. It's in Southampton?
Southampton, yeah. Dude,
Well,
you can drive right through the heart of it.
right.
To the extent that there's a hole where you hit a drive and then you have to hit your approach shot over the road and then look both ways as you cross in your golf spikes.
No way. That's unusual, right?
Yeah, and if you hit a shot thin and it stays low, I mean, you could go through the passenger side window and out the other side. You could kill somebody.
But now, is that part of why the course is so cool? Because it weaves through, the civil engineering of the nearby town, or does that have nothing to do with it?
So I think what happened was, apparently, by the way, of the top 10 golf courses in America, something like 7 of them have a public road that runs right through the middle.
Interesting.
And apparently what happened was, at least with Shinnecock, the course was so old that it was built before Southampton became this crazy, bustling summer retreat.
Right.
And the traffic has grown so much out there that they needed to build the road in order to create access to the beach.
Gotcha.
And, get people from the north to the south and back. And so the golf course was there first, and they had to do this. And dude, it's weird. I was asking my buddy, as I was waiting to hit, I was like, oh, here comes a car. I should wait, right? And he was like, no. Fuck those people. Go ahead. And it's I don't know about fuck those people. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's how I feel about their nice little Nissan Maxima that I'm about to potentially ruin.
Well, dude, so I notice a lot of these nice courses, quote unquote, are near the ocean. Does that just inevitably make them more difficult because of the wind and stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. Shinnecock is not on the ocean. It's right in the middle of Southampton.
Gotcha.
So it's on Tuckahoe Lane or something.
Okay.
And I mean, it's right up on this hill, and it's really stunning. National does have water views of the north of the bay of Long Island.
Gotcha.
But dude, it's pretty cool. You walk into the locker room and there's Eli Manning's locker. There's Michael
Really?
Bloomberg's locker. A lot of names that you recognize. You know what I mean?
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sick.
Pretty elite. But dude, I will say, it was like, when we got here, first day or two, my thought was, boy, it would be cool to make enough money someday to buy a place out here and try to join these really fancy golf clubs.
Yeah.
And then 10 days later, my thought is like, I don't want my kids to fucking suck. I don't want my kids to be shitty people. And if I brought them out here and they were surrounded by the other kids and going to summer camp at sailing camp and whatever else, they're gonna that's just gonna affirm their worldview that this is the good life and anybody who doesn't have this is less than.
So dude, I think that, I think there's a big risk for that, but dude, I know like a bunch of kids who, grew up in the city, have house in the Hamptons, and like, they're as much of dicks as their parents are. Like there's plenty of really nice kids I know who as I'm sure you too, like with tutoring and stuff, you probably noticed some kids were much better than others.
Yes. And I also know shitty kids who grew up with tremendous parents.
Yes, same. That's true.
Tremendously grounding, humble parents, regardless of wealth or whatever. So yes, you do run the risk regardless of where whatever school you put your kids into, whatever shit you buy them growing up. I think the odds increase if you have them running around with, other kids who are getting picked up in Bentleys from, chess club or whatever the fuck it is out here that they're doing. I just think when you surround them and immerse them in such elevated wealth, you run the risk that they're going to lose touch with the rest of the world.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is
Dude,
true.
in Maine, I had a really rich friend growing up. And we knew him to be our rich friend. And we would go to his house and we thought it was like a playground. We thought his house was just a big playground. I remember they had the height of wealth for us was the fact that they had a refrigerator solely dedicated to drinks.
Yeah.
They had like tons of sodas and Kool-Aid and all kinds of beverages. The fact that they had a separate refrigerator for drinks was something that made me think like this is the height of wealth.
Dude, we had that kid too, and I was just like drinking 4 or 5 cans of Surge a night, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like dude, crushing soda like a champ.
Just like shaking and running around. They had a Pop-A-Shot, thing, which is something I'd only ever seen in an arcade up to that point. And dude, so we used to go to their house. I bet you that family was worth like $8 million. Like I don't know, 10 million.
Which makes you like middle class in New York City.
I mean, you couldn't even sniff the fucking Hamptons.
Yeah, I know.
With $8 million. Or not certain parts of the Hamptons. Now
you could sniff them, but you would be doing it, and you'd be doing it on the cheap.
You'd be buying a fixer-upper that you wouldn't fix up.
And this is assuming though, but you have an apartment in the city and a family, so you can't use the whole $8 million on your house.
Bingo. Yeah, that's your nest egg. That's your like safety net.
That's your everything. Yeah.
Now, I will say, Southampton is in a different stratosphere. Sagaponack is in a different stratosphere. If you go to certain places like Quogue or West Hampton, you can find a more toned down level of this, where there still is a semblance of like kids being kids, indifferent to the very obvious writing on the wall of wealth. And I used to tutor kids that had houses out in like Fisher's Island, and you'd take a ferry out there, and what they love about being out there is just being able to bike around and run to the corner store and get an ice cream cone. Like there's no cars. It's not like crazy wealth. So
Sag Harbor has a little of that too. It's a little more toned down.
Yeah. But I think it's all going this way. I think that there's gentrification happening even of other parts of the Hamptons.
Right. No, you're right.
It reaches this breakneck pace that, you can't really escape it. So,
well, dude, I'll even say, I think that like Amagansett, in my opinion, is one of those emerging vibes where like it really fits our, generation in the sense where it has like sort of a Brooklyn feel to it that feels really like current, whereas like an East Hampton feels a little kind of like snooze. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, cool. Like London Jewelers, cool, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
You're right.
I don't know. Like in my opinion, it's more appealing to have sort of more of that kind of like nuanced new vibe.
Totally. Yeah, we went. I mean, I absolutely agree. But dude, you know it's weird, and the reason that I'm talking about this so much is that I think that this is happening around America. I think that all major cities, whether it's Chicago, New York, Boston, LA, whatever, there is going to be an exodus of young people, young 32, 33-year-old people who under normal circumstances would have stuck it out in the cities until they were 37, 38, have a kid, in a 2-bedroom apartment, raise the kid for a couple years before you decide to make the plunge to the suburbs. I think that exodus is being bumped up 5 or 6 years for young people with money. Right. I think that there's going to be, there's just, and then you're seeing like real estate markets in the suburbs of these cities, in the Hamptons, in Westchester, in fucking Cape Cod, wherever the fuck it is, are on fire, out of control.
Right.
And it's going to create more like natural distancing. You know what I mean? Like people are not going to be as close together. Everyone wants space. And it's going to change the landscape of cities and urban growth for a long time. Yeah,
it's fucked up how like, it's been what 4 from 5 months of this or whatever, and it's incredible how quickly. I mean, it's a painful transition, but it's amazing how quickly like life can kind of be permanently altered. Like I forget what it used to be like, and I miss it, dude. I sort of remember like as the way you remember a deceased relative, but feel what it used to be like, and that's weird, dude. Like the idea of doing stand up again gives me anxiety because like I feel like I don't know how to do it.
I may never go back to that. I'm aware of that possibility. And dude, what's amazing, like the Ivy League just canceled all fall sports.
Wow.
I got an email saying that like they're going to allow the freshmen back to campus in the fall, but all the classes are going to be online. So nobody's going to be going to lecture calls, which like begs the question, why the fuck are they even going back to campus?
Right.
Are they going to go to the dining halls? Is there any campus life?
Right.
I think the reality is setting in that this is going to be the way things are for a lot longer than anyone had thought.
Right.
I mean, I remember a month ago when things were starting to reopen and
I know
loosen up, and I was like, oh, maybe we're coming back. Wrong.
I know. Which is a bummer because like in a lot of the world, things are the same. Like I look at as they were before. Like I look at friends of mine who live in Israel and who live in Korea, and I see them living their normal lives, and it's like really crazy that we can't yet. You know what I mean?
I know, but it might happen to those countries too.
Right. But
I just think I think that until there's a vaccine, this is going to continue to spread and flare up and have second waves. And I don't mean to be so dreary in my outlook, but dude, you buckle in, people. You know what I mean? Like settle in for the long winter.
Right.
Because this is, dude. Think about New York City in the winter. If restaurants. Right now, restaurants have opened outdoor dining. Once the weather turns, that's all gone, and indoor dining is not allowed. Why would anyone? And stand-up's not open, and why would anyone be in New York? Like, unless you have to be, like, who's going to want to be there?
Yeah, no, totally, dude. Well, I would say to everybody is, even though this, obviously sucks in many ways, try to embrace and enjoy the things that you are doing that you would not be doing otherwise. I'm sure that there's things that you're doing that you're enjoying. And try to think about that as much as you're thinking about the stuff you're missing out on, because that is a bummer if that's all you're doing.
I know. I want to change my tone here to try to provide some uplifting thoughts to our listeners. It's funny. Do you remember all the goals you set? Remember all the things you said? Wow, well, this moment in time will provide me the space to do this, to read more, to pick up an instrument, to learn another language, to get in shape. Remember all that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I haven't done: get in shape.
I was gonna ask.
I tried, dude. I mean, listen, I had like a whole plan. A friend of mine was kind of like writing these plans and diets for me, and this guy's like a really jacked. He's like a big guy, and I was just like eating a lot, and I was like starting to get big, but I was like, it's like not really what I want to look like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a thing that people say who are like lazy. They're like, well, I don't want to like get big. And it's like, all right, dude, you haven't even started lifting yet, dude. Yeah. But I really put in hard work for a few months, and I was starting to like get bigger, but like, I didn't really like the way that looked. Anyway, when I left my situation in Long Island, I kind of lost the gym situation. So I've kind of like pivoted and adjusted. And I don't really know if I look the same or whatever. I think I look a little better than I did, but I'm definitely not fit. But the good news is, which you were just talking about, and this is a silver lining situation, it looks like I'm going to have some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody said to everybody who's bummed out about the fact that they don't have the quarantine body yet, it ain't over. Get your ass back inside. So that's very accurate.
That's sad.
What about you, dude? Your fitness situation?
I do the best that I can. What I've felt is like I've been out in the Hamptons for 10 days and I don't have my Peloton. I don't have any weights out here.
Right.
I'm sort of beholden to jogging and, the occasional set of 20 push-ups and call it a day. It's pretty pathetic. I'm
not worried about you though, dude. I mean, I've seen you at home workout before and I was pretty impressed.
Fine.
Not that matters, but
no, I know. I appreciate it. But like, when I get into places where I don't have the ability to do a great workout, I kind of just hold on.
Right.
But what I do is I try to adjust my eating, right? Like if I have a meal, if I go out to dinner at night and I haven't worked out that day or for a couple days, I'm not ordering dessert because I haven't fucking earned it.
Right.
And I don't want to sound like a preacher here, but like I'll just it's so easy to let yourself go. If you tell yourself you're on vacation, if you say, well, I'll get it back next week when I'm back on my Peloton, whatever the fuck you have, I've always felt that when it comes to fitness, it's far easier to keep pace than to catch up.
Right.
It's far easier to keep weight off than it is to lose weight.
Totally.
And so in times like this, I'm just holding on. Holding on. I'll probably go for like a 2-mile jog today, run it at like 8-minute pace, 8.5-minute miles. It's not like a ton, but
right.
When you're eating salads and oatmeal for breakfast, it's kind of all you really need to just not balloon.
Totally. Dude, totally. And that brings up a very good point, which is oftentimes the most effective route is not doing something.
Yeah.
It's easy to go do something. It's very hard to not do something that you want to do.
Right.
Especially when it comes to eating or whatever. So yeah, man, I don't know. I've kind of lost perspective about what kind of shape I'm in. Good news. I played a set against the pro at my girlfriend's club and I won.
Whoa.
I'm in some sort of decent, good enough shape to win a set in 90-degree heat. So
here's the question. Here's the big question. When you come in and you beat a tennis pro at a club,
mm-hmm.
I mean, can that guy keep working there? Like, does he go home and cry?
I have a lot to say about this. I used to teach, And there'll be guys who want to play a set. So you don't want to absolutely kill them because, then they feel bad about themselves and they didn't enjoy it. So you want to keep it kind of close, and then you want to kick their ass. So there have been times where I kept it too close and I ended up losing. And I could tell that the guy thought he was hot shit, when in reality I could beat that guy 6-0. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In this case, it was really hot. This guy's a good player. I know he's a good player. He played for, a very good program in college, and he has been out on that court all fucking day long. It's so hot. I needed a racket. He gave me his racket, and then he used the racket that I didn't want to use. So inevitably it's going to make him a little worse. And he took that like a champ. I still don't think he was trying his hardest because he had to be out there for another 6.5 hours. And I know that he's still a good player. You know what I mean? It means nothing if I take a set, because I'm a good player. Mm-hmm. I know I should be able to beat people who are pretty good unless they're just way too good, which a lot of the time these pros are fucking nasty and would be able to kick my ass. So I felt bad making that guy play a set in the middle of the day, to be honest.
Wow. I mean, there's so much. You're really making a lot of excuses for him, and I think it's very noble of you and very generous. But putting the shoe on the other foot, you beat a guy whose job is to be good at tennis, and you're not playing sets or competitive tennis that much. You're using a racket that isn't even yours.
That's true too.
You're putting on bulk and not really trying that hard to be in shape. So in a weird way, I mean, this guy, I don't know how he should switch jobs, and it's really pretty embarrassing, I would say. It's how I see it. That's the way I see it.
That's very funny, dude. That's very, very funny. I like that opposing view.
Look, let's put it this way. I'm trying to think of I don't know, lacrosse. If I went out right now and played one-on-one lacrosse with a guy who coaches at camps and maybe plays, in men's leagues and is very active as a lacrosse player, and I went out there and just whooped him in one-on-one drills, I would probably ask him to quit, to retire. I think I'd have to tell him, look, this is not for you. Under no circumstances should I be beating you. I haven't taken this sport seriously in a decade. Look at what just happened. You need to take stock. And if you want your children to respect you, you should hang it up. You should quit. That's what should happen.
That's funny, dude. Oh God,
dude. Speaking of, I've been following the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, mixed martial arts a bit. There was a clip that came out of this fighter who was at a restaurant, got into a verbal altercation. I think he's probably pretty drunk. Ended up punching some overweight old man, knocking him to the ground. Jesus. And then he starts screaming at his girlfriend or this other girl that was trying to get him to chill out. And he ends every yell with the N-word, but he's using it colloquially.
Like with an A at the end?
Totally. Okay. And let's put it this way.
I love how that means using it colloquially, dude.
Well, meaning
it's true though. It's true.
The girl wasn't black. Right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he's not throwing it around as any kind of label or accusation.
Right. Was he a person of color?
He's not black.
Okay.
But I don't think he was Latin American.
Okay.
I don't even know if that's the politically correct term. I get so confused about South America.
You tried your best.
Yeah, forgive me, everybody. Mea culpa. So he's throwing it, he's saying it, and he's almost like he's being like, that guy punched me first, N-word, all this. And if you only heard the audio, obviously, depending on who you are, but if you only heard the audio, I think you would think it was less racist than if you watched the video.
Makes sense. That checks out.
It was a fascinating realization for me. because it was the first thing where I was like, well, yeah, okay, he definitely shouldn't be using that word.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so comfortable using it, and it was so part of his lexicon that it almost felt like this guy's been saying this for a while and nobody's said anything.
Right.
And I almost feel like he's probably said it around black people and maybe they haven't said anything. Because there were a lot of people around. I mean, there were
this guy has been enabled over time.
Yeah. He's been desensitized to this, and nobody has checked him on it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because he's a UFC fighter, and you don't want to be the guy who fucking tells him, hey, buddy, don't say that.
I'm uncomfortable. It's like, oh, yeah, you're uncomfortable? You're about to be more uncomfortable when I break your neck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what am I, my best case scenario, if I'm in his vicinity and he says that, would be that I would tweet or DM John Bones Jones and be like, hey, dude, just so you know, one of your colleagues is throwing this word around. You might want to tell him not okay.
Dude, literally.
But I don't know. It was a very, like, look, and of course, in no way am I condoning it, and nor is it my place for it to be like the judge and jury of whether this guy can use it. But it was the first time where I listened to something and saw a clip and I was like, that didn't feel as racist as I expected it to. And it was simply because of the way that he spoke.
Right. Listen, man, that's a fair assessment in my mind.
Yeah. I don't know. And
Dude, I have a question.
Am I going to get in trouble for saying what I just said? But
I don't think so. I think you were very diplomatic about it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
What were you going to say?
Oh, so dude, I have the speeding ticket and I'm fighting it now. So we can call this, what'd you say?
I love a good speeding ticket fight, little court battle.
So let's call this to fight or not to fight. Mm-hmm. So I hired an attorney online, which is never an ideal situation, but whatever. I looked into their like Better Business rating. They have an A+, like it's not a scam. I was like, all right, whatever. So I pay this guy $95 flat fee and he's going to fight my ticket. My ticket was probably upwards of around $400. Speed trap, whatever. And the guy's like, I'm pretty confident we'll get this thrown out. It's going to take a few months though. You will not have to appear in court in Texas. And this morning he emailed me. He's like, I'm going to need, if you can get it, it would be helpful if I can get your driver record from your state. So now I have to fucking mail in a thing and get my driver record mailed to me, and it's going to go to my parents' house, and they're going to have. And I'm starting to think, was it worth it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
All right. There's two answers to this. Well, there's a couple things you need to consider. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is my time value? What is the value of my time, right? And that changes in life. Meaning, if you have a busy work week, your value of time is a lot higher. Like let's say like if your billable rate for yourself for your hours of time is higher, right? Than if you are in a week where you don't have a lot going on and you have the ability to do bullshit, tedious, busy work, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first question you have to ask yourself.
Okay. My answer to that question, since we're doing this exercise, is that even though it's annoying, these little tasks are going to take 10 minutes, 10 minutes each, over a period of time. That is still annoying, but that's what I would say in my head.
Okay. So like, could you assign a rate to yourself? Could you tell yourself, like, right now, my time is worth $100 an hour, or right now my time is worth $50 an hour?
I mean, dude, it all depends if this commercial airs or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Fair
like
point.
It's really hard to give myself like a billable rate because it's so unclear how much money I'm going to be making.
Well, it sort of harkens back to the conversation we had about like if a sugar mama contacted us, like what would we charge for a weekend?
Right. And
I said to you, like, I wouldn't do it for less than like $4,000 or something.
Right.
And that's because right now my weekends are so valuable to me that it's not that I think that I'm worth that. I wouldn't do it for less. And that's your billable rate for yourself.
Right. Right.
So for me, like to spend, if let's say that I knew this battle for the parking ticket was going to cost me 5 hours of my time, and you're talking about saving $400, and it's not even going to be that because
Maybe around 300.
So the lawyer is going to take 100, right?
The lawyer's 95, and now I have to pay 20 to get my driving records. Now I'm in for 100.
So it's $115, which means that you are talking about saving, $285, right? So what amount of time is $285 worth?
Fair.
For me, it's at most 1 hour.
Right.
And I don't mean to sound like a fucking big swinging dick, but when I was tutoring, I was charging $300 an hour.
Right. Right.
And $285 an hour is an hour of my time.
Right.
Maybe an hour and a half. And a lot of that depends on how petty are you.
Okay, so now that is an important question. And the answer is my dad got me riled up.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
Well, then that changes the equation.
So if my initial reaction was like, this town was like pretty, no offense to the town. It was decrepit. It was like falling apart. And it was clear to me that this is a way that they generate income for their town. And my dad goes, well, that's not a reason where they should be able to fucking rob people, Giulio. And I was like, yeah, you're right. At first I was kind of like, maybe I'm happy to contribute to this town's sort of pathetic economy. But now I'm kind of like, fuck this, fuck them. You know what I mean? So now I want to make this cop have to show up in court. I want to drag it on. I want to be a dick back because I felt, even though I was speeding, like so I don't know. It's a conflicting thing.
Yeah, no, but these are all very important considerations.
Right.
Let me offer you a similar situation that we went through because I think it provides a good counterexample.
Okay.
So we went to the beach in, I guess, Amagansett last week on maybe Thursday or Friday or something. There was parking, right in front of the beach. And we had me, my girlfriend, my friend Doug, and his fiance in the car, right? The parking spots all said like you required a town of Amagansett parking pass or permit in order to park there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't have one. I don't even think we saw those signs. We just took a parking space. We went to the beach, which was only 100 feet away. We were at the beach for 3.5, 4 hours. We came back and we had a parking ticket for $150.
Right.
My friend Doug and I, without even thinking, thought absolutely worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
If you had told us that we could park in that spot and that he and I would have to split pay $75 each to park there without the hassle of finding some other parking spot, of potentially dropping people off and then shuttling people back and forth, no brainer.
Not worth it.
4 hours at the beach without the hassle, $150, no problem. And the town knows that.
Yeah.
They know that everyone who parks there doesn't care because as we were like pulling the ticket off the windshield, some guy walked by, some local, and he was like, you should fight that. Make sure you fight that. And we were like, I don't think we will. You know what I mean? We were like, we're not going to fight it. That is just a life tax.
Agreed.
That is a life tax for efficiency and totally fine. Now, if it had been $500,
different story.
We would have fought it. It's the time value, right?
So there you go. But that's an example and you guys are splitting it. So that means, but it's still potentially worth it to fight it because it's just such an intense fine. If my speeding ticket had been $120, I would have paid it. You know what I mean? Yeah. 400 is a lot.
400 is a big pill to swallow. Absolutely. But as you start to see what is required in going into fighting this, and you start to figure out how long is this going to take, you have to ask yourself, how angry am I at the injustice of this? How much do I care? Because, dude, let me tell you something. There are things that there are like life taxes of $25 that might take you 10 hours to fix that are worth it.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like what though? Do you have an example?
All right. Usually this is like airline stuff for me.
Okay.
Okay. So here's something, right? I bought flights to Milan to go to my friend that I'm actually with. His wedding was in Lake Como. We talked about this first week of August. The flights have been canceled by the airline, right? I used points to buy the flights for both me and my girlfriend. The flights have been canceled. I'm pretty confident I'm just one quick, easy phone call away from getting all those points back. I'm certain I'm going to get a refund for that. But I had paid, this was on Emirates Air. I had paid for my girlfriend and me to have assigned seats in coach. I wanted to make sure, obviously, overnight flight that we were sitting together. And I also paid for a row that only had 2 seats together so that we could kind of not deal with like a person in the middle. We wouldn't have to have a middle seat, all of that. Those seat assignments cost me like $50 per seat. So $100 total. I know in the grand scheme of things, you know, I'm getting back like $1,500 worth of points for the overall tickets.
Right.
But I have not seen anything about a refund for those seat assignments, the extra money that I paid for those. I know it's going to be a very difficult, labyrinthine series of phone calls to Emirates Air, wherever the fuck their headquarters in, however many crazy language buttons I'm going to have to press to get to the right person to somehow track down my seat assignments and try to fight for those. And it may not even come back, right? And yet, it's worth it to me. If you told me it would take 5 hours of waiting on hold, for some reason, getting that $100 back means more to me than the $150 parking ticket at the Amagansett Beach.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Yes, because you're getting taken advantage of as opposed to
Exactly.
you making an exchange with the town.
They are relying on you being someone who says, whatever, fuck it. It's not worth my time.
Right.
Guess what, Emirates Air, you motherfuckers? It is my time. You mess with the wrong guy. Okay? You may have 99 passengers out of 100 who don't care about that $50 seat assignment. I'm that one guy. I am going to come down on you with the wrath of 100 phone calls. And until my phone runs out of battery, I will not give up that fight.
Dude, I like your chances. They're like considered the best airline in the world. I don't know what their customer service is like, but I imagine it's got to be pretty good. I feel like you'll be okay.
Fine. One of the big problems, though, is that this whole flight was booked through points. So it's technically a travel agent. It was Chase Travel Rewards or whatever. And that system is so fucked.
So, dude, I've dealt with this too. I planned a trip around the same time so that we could kind of stay on the same schedule. And I was going to go to Greece. And our airline has canceled our flights as well. And it was a multi with different airlines. So with Norwegian, it was very, very easy. I've already gotten a full refund.
They're great.
With Aegean Airlines, as you might imagine, I called, they're offering credit. I'm like, fuck that. So I called Amex and they're like, if you've already requested a credit, we can dispute it for you. So I went through that whole process. It was a pain in the fucking ass. I canceled one hotel and I got my money back. It was through Marriott. Now the other hotel is a boutique one, and I'm not physically allowed to go to the country for the dates of my hotel. But their argument is that because they are open, I can take a credit.
Oh God, yeah.
It's not a pain in the. I'm like, fuck that. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to agree to the credit yet. If for some reason they happen to close in the next couple of weeks, I can then contest it.
Oh, nice. Yep.
But moral of the story, book your shit through Amex.
Oh, really?
People listening, yeah, because they're just way better about this stuff than any other company. in my personal experience, but it's been a pain to try to recoup our losses with that.
Right.
Did you guys book hotels already?
We had one hotel. We had booked our hotels for the wedding, and fortunately I got those back. I booked those through hotels.com, and then they they were non-refundable, but then the hotel fortunately like ceded to them. That's great. Obviously they can't come, the wedding's canceled, the whole country's shut down, whatever. So I got that back. But dude, here's an interesting little wrinkle. By the way, first of all, you booked on Aegean Airlines. In general, I would advise people not to book air travel on airlines that are named after bodies of water. I just think that is dancing with the devil. I don't think that's a good idea. I try to avoid
bad omens.
I don't think that's what you want in life.
That's funny as fuck, dude. Oh my god.
But dude, the other thing is I booked these flights. I booked the hotel for Lake Como while I was in Canada. And so I got charged for it based off Canadian dollars.
Oh, what?
And I actually did the conversion. I checked it, and the rate I was getting in Canadian, I think I had the option to pay in American. It was the same. Right. But I got refunded in the Canadian dollars. And fortunately, the value of the Canadian dollar has not changed so much. Okay. But dude, think about if you were
I know, I think about this.
If you booked a flight in Zimbabwe and then 6 months later got canceled or something, and the country had undergone stagflation.
Yeah.
You could be out big time.
Dude, and in countries where people travel to more often, even in Turkey, the Turkish lira is all over the place.
Yeah.
And that could easily happen to you. And that would fucking blow.
Dude, the last piece I have is I have this great group chat of friends. And by the way, we talk about this stuff all the time about getting money back for flights. And my friend, who is litigious and relentless about this, has jokingly talked about starting a company called PMI, Persistent Man Incorporated, where you hire people whose only job it is to track down and hunt for refunds and things that you don't have the time or the will to pursue.
It's great.
Charge some kind of nominal fee and just fight airlines, banks, maybe the IRS. I don't know what it would be, but I think there's definitely something there. If you had some trustworthy outpost who could handle all this horrible busy work for you, waiting on hold, all that shit, I think that'd be
That's great, man. Yeah. And that reminds me of one thing. If anybody is ever flying in Europe and you get your flight delayed, there's an app called Air Help that will get you 400 euros. Because there's some weird law about flying in Europe.
Huh.
And I've used it before, and it works, and it's incredible.
Boy, this whole episode has been one big ad for so many different companies.
Dude, listen, man, we're here to help.
Amex and fucking, yeah. Awesome. Well, let's wrap it there, dude. Have a great weekend. Good to see you.
You too, man.
I think we might be back in our studio in a week or two for a few episodes, so make sure you tune into those. And as ever, send us some stories or thoughts to oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. As ever, I'm Francis Ellis, and he's Giulio Gallerati. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. If you like that video, check out our channel where we have way more videos. I just don't know how to do this. This is unbelievable. If you like that video, we have way more videos on our channel. Please like and subscribe. Turn on notifications if you want to know when there are new ones. But if not, check them out, and we appreciate it.
Oops.